Last weekend in April was the one that the entire world had been looking forward to for months. Iron Man, the Night King, the Durantula. That's a hell of a trio right there. And then, of course, you had Game 1, Rockets and Warriors, the series we've all been waiting on. And you probably thought Game 1 was going to be about Durant, Harden, Curry. Instead, the biggest games, or the biggest stars of that game, hell, the biggest stars of the entire weekend were none other than Kirkland, Zarba, and Tiven. As always, if you notice the referees, that's a problem. If you know their last names, that's a huge problem. And they were a huge problem yesterday. And I will get to those three in a second. Because try as they might, I can't let the referees lead the show on the Monday after a weekend like that. So why don't we start with the game first? Because lost in all the talk about the refs is the fact that Golden State didn't win that game. Golden State, in fact, won that game 104-100. Golden State did, in fact, take a 1-0 lead. And all of that does count, no matter how hard it was to watch. Now, normally, I would say a 4-point game with multiple technicals and an ejection was an awesome game. Except Rockets-Warriors Game 1 was not an awesome game. In fact, it was pretty ugly. And for the Rockets, it was painful. It was gutting. Because if there was a game for the Rockets to steal, it was that game. Game 1 in Oakland. Remember, the Rockets had been posted up there for quite some time. They came in rested. They had been off since Wednesday night. Golden State, though, played Friday night. They had to fly back. Then they had a 12:30 Pacific tip. Steph Curry was not right physically. Neither was Klay Thompson. And while the Warriors looked very unlike the Warriors in the first round, the Rockets pretty much were who we thought they were. In fact, the Rockets were better. The Rockets looked like their best selves. They wanted that matchup. They wanted it badly, and they didn't try to hide that fact from anybody. And they got it. But they would tell you the refs stole it. But it was not just the refs who ripped that game from them. All right, let's be real about this. Kevin Durant had a game in that, or a hand in that. After going for 50 in Game 6 Friday night, Durant comes right back with 35 yesterday. But it felt like even more than that. No wonder Steve Kerr was hyping him after the game. Kerr said, quote, Kevin's run these last couple of weeks has just been off the charts. I've said it a few times this week. He is the most skilled basketball player on the earth. He's one of the most skilled basketball players to ever play the game. End quote. He said it a few times this week because Durant has shown it a few times this week. He's shown that when he wants to score, there is nobody who can do a damn thing about that. You can't stop this guy. I've said it before. Let me say it again right now. He's a 7-footer with the mobility and the handle and the jumper of a 6-footer. And pretty much that bleep just ain't fair. Steph's not having a good game. In fact, he was having a pretty lousy game. Can't get anything going, but when it matters, he gets the switch that he wants on Nenê. He gets the matchup that he wants with Nenê. He buries the shot on top of Nenê. Run that back again, because you knew the moment Curry got that ball, what was coming. So did Curry, and so did Nenê. And there was nothing that he could do to stop it. Yeah, I love Steph. I'll say it for the record. I think he's one of the most humble, likable superstars you'll ever see. I could understand where some of you might not like him. You know, drops the shot, then drops the shimmy, drops a man's game right before he lets it rip.
Man's game.
And again, for Houston, man, that is so brutal. And again, we will get to the refs in a second. But the Rockets essentially fought their asses off in that game. They had a chance to rip it. They had a chance to rip the home court. And instead, the Dubs go right into their chest and rip their heart out. For Curry to hit that shot on a bad ankle with foul trouble and shooting trouble less than 48 hours after the last game was massive. That's what superstars do in superstar moments. Now, you lose that game, and Golden State's in trouble. Like, legitimate trouble. Not getting stretched to 6 in the first round trouble. Serious trouble. Legitimate trouble. Like, the run could be over trouble if they lose that game. And here's why I say that. They'd be tired. They'd be gassed. They'd be banged up. They would have lost the home court, and they'd be down 1-0 to a fired-up Rockets team that's been lying in wait and waiting on them. Now, they're still tired, But tired and up 1-0 feels a hell of a lot better than tired and down 1-0, knowing that you have to win at least one game in Houston to win that series. And the Rockets are pissed. The question is this: do they have a right to be? Did the refs rip that from them or not? You know, generally I'm the first guy to say, scoreboard, look up at it. This might be the one time I don't say that.